order, and I've asked our very own Senator Jackson to please open us in a word of prayer.
Let us pray. Holy One, we thank you for the gift of life, for opportunity to do work to protect life. We ask that you would guide our decisions, that you would help us to be wise, and help us to always do the work of looking out for the welfare of all your children. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome. We're glad to have you here today. We're going to have one bill on the calendar, which will be Senate Bill 115. I do want to take a moment, though, and thank everyone who provided some input to the amended budget. And while not everyone on this committee happens to be on appropriations or even on the subcommittee for criminal justice and public safety, I do want to know that I would always welcome each one of your feedback for that. I know some folks will go directly to Chairman Tillery, which you're always welcome to do. However, if it has anything to do with the criminal justice or public safety part of the budget, I'd be happy to work with each and every one of you on that, especially as we start to begin the process for the full 2022 budget. I want to thank everybody again who has worked on that, specifically Andrew Zoll and Chairman Tillery's office. All right, so we're going to begin here with Senate Bill 115. You can stay right where you're at, Chairman Robertson, and we'll look forward to hearing all about your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be reading from LC 412750. The purpose of this bill is to have the Department of Public Safety and the Department of Driver Services to work together to provide for instructional content to be included in the driver's manual and to be included in the driver's training programs here in the state of Georgia for those individuals that are required to take those courses. And the curriculum would be developed around the interaction of citizens with law enforcement officers. Due to the issues, I don't think I have to go into detail with this committee, especially on all of the problems that have occurred throughout our country and throughout our state involving law enforcement officers and citizens operating motor vehicles. And so basically, my goal is that a curriculum be written that educates citizens on the conduct or what should be the proper conduct of law enforcement officers during traffic stops and on how to respond, and also even on how to file complaints or other, if they have an issue with a traffic stop, what they should do. Currently, it's included as a, there's a, I have a great relationship with the Department of Driver Services and our Department of Public Safety, but I think right now what we're doing is nowhere near where we need to be, and most likely as we move forward, if the committee chooses to move this out today, that there would possibly be an amendment in here mandating that driver schools provide this training also, since these individuals are already required to go to and attend those schools. But with that, I'd open to any questions, and I would greatly appreciate the consideration of all committee members.
Thank you, Chairman. We appreciate you bringing this bill forward. You know, when you and I first discussed this bill a while back, what really resonated with me is I was fortunate to grow up in a family where I remember my dad, when I first got a driver's permit before I got my license, sat me down and said, look, these are things you need to learn how to do. It was everything from before I could get my license, I didn't know how to change a tire, right? I needed to do basic things on my car, change the oil. And he told me about what things to do. What do I do when there's an emergency vehicle behind me? What do I do when I see something where I need to provide help? And one of those things is what happens if I get pulled over, right? And he gave me some pretty good lessons, pull over in a safe place, turn your car off, roll your window down, put your hands up on the steering wheel so everybody knows where his hands are so we can be safe. Be respectful, be kind. If there's something wrong, take all the information, continue to be respectful and kind. Get a copy of that business card or badge, whatever you need to do in order to make sure everybody had a good experience. But what dawns on me is I had that great experience, but not everybody might have had that same experience. And likewise, it goes both ways. We want to make sure both citizen and officer are protected in a good, transparent place. So I really appreciate you bringing this forward. We certainly do need to have those private driver schools, though, who do a lot of this training, obviously a part of that. And I will follow up with, we have Ms. Siobhan in the back there, who I get to work with all the time, who, by the way, really does a tremendous job for driver services. She has just been a hero to many of our constituents and us here. I will be working with her off session to work as you renew your driver's licenses online, that you will do perhaps up to a 3 to 5 minute type of a video that you'll have to watch, because you're saving a lot of time and money and effort by not having to go to the driver's license location, but to do it online, where you might get a refresher on some of these important things. As an example, what to do when an emergency vehicle is behind you, what to do when you're passing a cyclist, what to do if you're pulled over. Things of this nature, which would be good reminders for all of us who may have gotten a driver's license a very, very long time ago and forgot. So let me open it up to questions for Senate Bill 115 for Senator Robertson. I got a question from Senator Summers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Robertson, just curious about something. When people get different licenses, for example, they got their driver's license and they go to get a CDL, for example, is that going to be an effective thing that comes into play in additional licenses, et cetera?
The primary focus of the legislation, as I had, would be starting with those new drivers coming out. You know, to Senator Albert's point, it's kind of hard to go back and replow ground that we've already traveled over. But my main focus is on the younger generation as they get their licenses, that they're given all the information possible. I'm working with a couple of other nonprofits, putting together basically a video that we will put out for the general public, those that already have their licenses to see, but that's outside of this legislation. Right now, I just want to focus on the young people that are out getting their learner's permits and driver's license.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
And Senator Jackson?
Thank you, Senator, for bringing this bill forward. Just a quick question. Is there a fiscal note attached to this?
I don't believe so. Discussing it with driver services, any concerns that they had, I think would be handled over on the DPS side. If any expense per se is related to this, it would be to the private driving schools, if there were PowerPoints they wanted to develop or something like that. But I don't see a fiscal impact on state government, because we've already have a small portion of this developed. It just enhances it and removes and adds the requirement that all the private driving schools provide the curriculum that's developed, and a more in-depth curriculum than we currently have.
Can I ask another question?
Absolutely.
You're on the phone.
So when you gave your verbal presentation, you talked about making sure that citizens were aware of how to report incidences or to raise issues, but I don't see that in the bill. So you delineate, there's kind of, you know, best practices,
Senator.
recommendations for interacting with them, but consequences for citations and habitual violations, but it doesn't, you don't include that in the bill around how a regular citizen can make a report.
No, that's all in the curriculum. Yeah, it's to do that. I could have written the curriculum myself and included it in here, but absolutely. And when we talk about the complaints, as a part of the curriculum would also include something if an individual is driving through Senator Harper's district, where you might find yourself out on a long stretch of highway and blue lights came up behind you. That you would be perfectly, it would be perfectly legal for you to call 911 and say, you know, my name is Randy Robertson. I'm driving along this highway. I'm at mile marker number 14, and a vehicle just came behind me with blue lights. Could you verify that that's a law enforcement officer, and that, you know, slow your vehicle down, make the call. We have people do that. Go to the nearest business with lights outside if it would make you feel more comfortable. Those are things we encourage, but I think to include the curriculum in the bill itself would have been kind of prohibitive.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Other questions? Senator C., you're number 8. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for bringing this. I actually have 3 grandboys, and one has a license, and one is preparing, since he's turning 17 this year, to get licensed. I always left my 2 to my husband. Most of you all know he was military and MP in the military. So he would teach the boys, my kids, both kids, driving. But things have changed. Pretty much one of the things that I know he told them and told them out loud, if you're pulled over, just like he said, make sure you put your hands where they can be seen, and do not make any sudden moves, because we want you to come home alive. And with black children, a lot of them don't. So that's very, very important. And one other thing that comes to my mind is women at night on that stretch of road, making sure, you know, young girls know that they can keep driving and call and do those things to keep themselves safe. We found that there's been bad actors on both sides of the law, the enforcer as well as the young people. But if we can get the young people to start understanding their rights on the front end, I think it'll save a lot more on the back end. And that's what public safety is, in my opinion. So I do appreciate you bringing it forth. I look forward to adding more input as we move along. But as a grandma, you know, if I could have skipped the children, I'd have went right to the grands. Thank you.
Thank you for your support, Senator C. And I'm a grandfather of 3 granddaughters, and I would worry about that. And I have a son that does not cut his hair like his father and does not wear the clothes like his father. So he and I had that same conversation. He's a very skinny, shaggy-haired drummer, and I explained to him where his hands go and all this too. And my wife's family comes from another country where they're told to keep their hands in their pockets. So it depends on where you're. There's a lot of misinformation out there with people that immigrate to the United States, bringing the customs of their countries here that are counter to the behaviors that we do here in order to keep people safe. And so most law enforcement agencies, the Department of Public Safety, and most municipal law enforcement agencies teach exactly what this curriculum will be, and we tell those individuals how to act when stopped. The problem is there's never been a comprehensive training given to all the citizens from the state. And I think what this will do is bring a lot of those things together in one place and save lives on both sides.
All right, Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Who would be teaching the class? If this is a class, how would it be taught, I guess?
The primary would be through the driver schools that already have the contracts with the state that the students are mandated to go through now. Speaking with DDS, there are 2 avenues of approach, and the vast majority of individuals go through the driver's training with through their parents signing them up for the private schools. So it would be added on to those private schools' requirement that they teach the class. And the second portion would be that as it's developed, DPS, as they develop the curriculum, would also develop any videos and things that were needed to show. And a lot of those videos are currently developed at Georgia Public Safety Training Center in Forsyth. And so it would be developed through there. And I mean, there's many avenues that we could get it out to, but the actual class, the vast majority of it would be done through the training schools, and it would also be part of the driving manual that we all had to study when we were kids.
So it would not be mandated for it to be attorneys, though, to actually
Say the
teach the
question
class.
again, I'm sorry.
Would it be mandated that it would not be mandated that attorneys teach the class? Attorneys
No,
teach the
no,
class.
it would not be mandated that
Correct.
attorneys teach it. No, sir. No, sir. I know some attorneys that would probably hand a copy of it to their clients, but no, sir, it would not be mandated. It would be part of the curriculum to get your driver's license. I would hope that once it was out there, I'm sure every attorney would want to look at it to make sure that it you know, because I think Senator C used the word rights. I think we want to make sure that everybody understands that's got to be a part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Senator Lee Anderson.
Senator, will this be part of the test a person would have to take when they get the driver's license?
It very well could be. It would not be mandated. I know that DDS uses a formula where they determine how many questions are pulled from different sections of the driver's manual and included in their driving test. And I would hope that the vast majority or a big piece of this would factor into that because I think it's a big part of the solution to some of the problems that we have today in driver safety along with officer safety.
Question from Senator Payne. No? Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Jackson.
Just looking at your bill again, it says that the presentations will be designed by the public safety and then hosted in locations provided for by the department. So I think my question here is twofold. Is this going to cost us money, and how we're going to pay for it if they have to offer these separate programs? And then also, who's teaching these classes?
The section in here that you're reading, the Department of Public Safety already does driver safety training, as does Department of Natural Resources and others, and this would become a part of the training that they already do.
So this
Yeah.
is not new, additional. It's just additional to the
it's an-
existing. The
Correct.
existing.
It's a curriculum that's included in training that they currently do. Correct. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're only trying to add a new chapter or a new sprocket, if you will.
Gotcha.
All right. Other questions from the committee members? Just a follow-up comment, Senator Robertson. I don't believe this is, going to add 50% to the driver's manual per se. I think some of that would probably be unique to someone they may not have known. Some of it may be some common sense stuff, but we all need a refresher. It's been a very, very long time since I've been pulled over, but I know when you get pulled over, you're usually not in a cheerful mood. So, getting your mind straight before you do something is half the battle sometimes too, right? So I appreciate you bringing it forward. We do not have a sign-up sheet today, but we want to give people the opportunity to speak. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this bill? Okay, seeing none. I know we have a request for an amendment, Senator. Is that correct? I was getting ready to call Jenna when Senator Harper pointed out that she was sitting right there. So in lieu of calling you, we're just going to use your wisdom right now. So, Senator, let me phrase what I think is going to be proper, that independent driver schools, and Shavonda, you can help us out here, will be mandated to integrate and teach this curriculum within the driver's school, something of that nature, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So are you so moving that be part of your bill?
If you will, Mr. Chair.
All right, Jenna, can you word that in a way that would make sense?
Yes, you may right now. Well,
But
the
you said
driver
it perfectly
training
well.
Flattery will get you everywhere, Senator.
No driver training schools are licensed pursuant to Chapter 13, I believe. Maybe did you have to help me up of Title 43? Or we could just say, licensed by the department.
That's perfect. Ms. Leslie, you're good with that? Okay. All right.
And so we're saying, maybe on line 19, such instructional course should be authorized for use as part of other driver educational programs by law or educational institutions or driver training schools licensed by the department. Let me see that as,
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
okay.
And you did use the word mandated, is that correct?
So, used as part of other driver education programs provided for by law.
Oh, you already say the instruction course shall be.
Shall be. We're
Right.
good, yeah.
But it's authorized for
Oh, yeah, so,
done.
Yeah.
so maybe authorize is the wrong word to have in there to begin with.
Required.
Implemented?
Shall be used as part,
Yeah, use, okay. You,
used as part of other driver education programs provided by law. And then not the or, strike that, and then by educational institutions, the department.
Mhm.
or driver training school licensed by the department.
I
Correct.
think it's and, isn't it? Maybe not.
Yes, and.
And you're very good. Good catch.
So I'll repeat it back.
She tell you she's going for freshman of the year. I can see this right now.
You want me to repeat it back?
Yes, please.
Line 1819 will say electronic and video format, period. Such instructional course shall be used as part of other driver education programs provided for by law, by educational institutions, comma, the department, comma, and driver training schools licensed by the department.
That was your amendment, right, Senator
Correct.
Robertson? I thought that's what you wanted to say. And Senator Jackson, having influence, did you want to second that amendment?
I'll second it.
I thought you did.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What all does driver, Jenny, I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but what all would driver education programs include?
Well, they have like the Joshua's Law stuff.
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
Team driving, virtual stuff, but maybe DDS if you want to drill specific,
I-
might be able to tell you.
Well, the reason I'm asking is, so the original way this was written, it was authorized to use in those courses or in those classes. Now we've changed it to where you have to use it in all of those educational classes.
You want to use it.
The reason I'm asking is so, I guess, for instance, DUI programs, would that be considered a driver education program?
It could be if mandated by the court.
So the reason, you
I see what you're
get
saying.
where I'm going, I think by changing it to what we just changed it to, we just have now mandated it to be offered in every driver education course that's offered, unless I'm reading that wrong, the way the amendment is drafted. And I don't think that's the intent of Senator Robertson's
My
bill
intent-
per se.
Well,
I think your intent was geared toward the
well,
driver education courses for the purpose of getting a driver's license,
Well-
not necessarily to retain.
Initially, that's part of the intent.
Yeah.
Now, if this amendment widens the distribution of this education.
it does.
Then I have absolutely no problem with that.
Okay.
Reason being is I think there's so much value in this type of curriculum that it's not gonna hurt anybody, especially if somebody has to take a DUI class.
I'm not,
No, I know, I'm agreeing
I'm
with
just,
you.
I'm
Yeah.
just wanting to make sure it's
no.
clear that I think we're
That I-
changing the intent, the initial intent
The
of what
scope.
you were doing.
Yeah,
Yeah, the scope.
Yeah, I think, so Senator Harper, I think you have a really good catch, but perhaps this was something worth catching,
Yeah.
right?
absolutely, and
Okay.
I think, I took driver's education in high school.
Yeah.
And that's where I should have received this education, because the first time I got pulled over, I was scared to death, didn't know what to do.
That's right.
And I did the wrong thing. And then, my wife being homeschooled, she took her driver's education training at Columbus State University. And so this would be included as part of that curriculum also, because they use the state mandated, the DDS guidelines.
I will tell you why I actually like the addition here, because the person that gets pulled over isn't necessarily 1 year into getting there. It's not necessarily a grandchild of Senator C, right, who maybe just got their driver's license or just coming through. It could be a person that's 60 years old, right? And if they did a DUI last time or did something else, why wouldn't they get a little extra training? But Senator Jones, I saw you moving your head like you might have some wisdom to impart. Did you have something you wanted to mention?
Mr. Chair, I was just under the impression was for persons who initially were getting the license, not
That's the way it started.
across the board, even if you wanted to retain the license, no matter what. And I do have one other question, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Please.
When we say best practices of what a driver should do, has that been defined anywhere?
That's the term used in the Department of Driver Services when they interact with other states and other associations that do driver services and provide driver's licenses and driver's training. They try to look for best practices throughout that industry. And so that's just a pretty common term used within all professions, but in theirs, that's their intent, is to get the very best practices from around the United States and employ them here in Georgia. training practices, to be clear.
Okay. I mean, can I have one other?
Please, yes.
Just following up on that, because
Yes, sir.
best practice is what a driver should do during a traffic stop. So would that be, how would that integrate what a driver, how would that integrate the law, I guess, with what the law is?
Right. There are, and I'm always, always try to watch how I discuss anything with attorneys, because I'm being serious. The education, y'all are, and because you understand, I don't want to ever say something as if I'm speaking down or anything, but we all understand there's law. In the past, there's common law, there's practices, there's policies and procedures. And so everything falling within the training of a driver or anything else is not always the Title 16 or the Title 40. There are times that it is the best and safest practice, even though it is not necessarily included in the law, an infraction of not doing this, such as you don't find a whole lot of citations written for changing lanes without turn signals or other things, or blowing the horn as you back up and things of that nature, or inspecting the vehicle before you enter it and crank it up and start your day. Those are best practices and things that we encourage all drivers to do, and they're trained and taught on how to do it in classes, even though failure to do it would not lead to a violation of Georgia law, such as the blowing the horn when backing up or some of the other things. So everything that's included in the curriculum and by requiring everybody to take it does not necessarily fall into the lane that where an individual would possibly violate law, be arrested, and have to go to court and defend themselves or anything of that nature.
Mr. Chairman,
You done with your questions, Senator? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Senator Summers, why don't you come to the microphone if you don't mind?
Senator, is there I know you're going to read it and be part of the curriculum. Did I understand you correctly saying that the testing part of the system? Could you tell me that one more time about the test?
Yes, DDS, like all other types of institutions, they use formulas. What they don't do is they don't go in and cherry pick questions for the most part. They may have 1,000 questions. And if it's a 100-question test, those 100 questions usually are randomly selected and going into certain areas. Now, it gives them the opportunity to change the test up occasionally, change the order of it. It's the same thing that the Carl Vinson Institute at the University of Georgia does, as they develop different types of promotional testings and other things. So I would be, it would be extremely, I think, unfair for us to try to box the department in and say this many questions have to come from this part, because when we do that, we sacrifice safety in other areas that are important too.
I appreciate your work on public safety. I've read some of the stuff you've done over the years. I'm still learning some of the stuff, but you did a really good job with that, and I want to commend you on that.
Well, I appreciate that. Good senators like Senator Jones keep me straight, so that means a lot.
Senator Jackson.
Thank you again, Senator.
I
So,
feel like we've been here before.
I know, right? So the assumption, that, as we've been talking, the assumption has been that this is going to be included in the driver's manual.
Correct.
Is the DDS prepared to reissue the driver's manual to include this curriculum?
Yes, they are. Matter of
What's the-
fact,
How much does that cost, brother?
matter of fact, they just, they're in the process of updating everything now. So as we get
So
this
it's
through, we
timely.
will be, absolutely. And I've sat down with my friends at DDS and looked at it. And while it is a beautiful digital document, I think there is much room for improvement in this area. And if there is sacrifices to be made, I think we can all agree that this is not one area where the sacrifices need to be made at. But yeah, they're in the process right now of taking in new information and updating the manual on not only on information such as this, but on best practices that they've gathered from around the country.
So do we need to say explicitly that it needs to be in the driver's manual?
To be honest with you, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's going to end up there, and I think the way we're doing it's in the training program, so for it to be in the training program, for it to be tested on, it would have to be in there.
Manual.
Anyway, yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, other questions? Senator Lee Anderson.
I'm ready to make a motion when time comes.
All right, one moment here. Ms. Leslie, would you mind just coming up to the podium real quick? I have a question for you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming again and all your help. Lots of questions and comments. I know you were back there, and you may have a comment you want to make as well. Let me ask you a very quick question. With the exception of someone going through driver's ed and taking their actual driver's permit test or actual driver's test, what other tests do you issue to folks in your bar? Go ahead.
In regards to this matter, we do not offer any other additional tests. We do have a space in our driver's menu that have things you should know when stopped by law enforcement. I did share with Chairman Robertson earlier today that AMVA, our national organization, did recently send us some information as to best practices that they've come up with other organizations, other law enforcement agencies, and they sent that out statewide to our commissioners throughout the state. And so we will incorporate that. And to answer your question, we annually or even every other year update our manual to include things that may have passed out of legislation after the session, so that our drivers will know about that.
Right. Any other questions for Ms. Leslie while she's here? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let me get back to Senator Anderson. I know you want to make a motion, but I think we'll have to do the amendment first. So I believe, Senator Robertson, as a member of the committee, you're proposing your amendment as outlined by Ms. Dolday over here. Do we have a second to that amendment? Okay, by Senator Jackson, that's right. Let's begin by all in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. All right, it passes unanimously. We now have a new committee substitute that we'll be working for. Senator Anderson, you're recognized for the purpose of a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that Senate Bill 115 do pass.
By committee substitute. Do we have a second? All right, looks like Senator Payne beat you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion by the committee members? All right, we've got a comment from Senator Payne.
So you had a ticket one time?
As far back as I can remember, I think I was 15, and I believe I was given a citation, and I was given a sound chastisement for exiting my vehicle prior to allowing the trooper to walk up to my car and have a conversation with me. I thought I was supposed to be out of my vehicle so he could see what I was doing, so, yeah.
I'm just curious. I just never thought Randy.
That's why you got the
Captain, could we get a little refresher course for him after the meeting? Thank you. Is there any further discussion by the committee members? All right, all those in favor of the bill and a committee substitute, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. Passes unanimously. Congratulations, Senator. Best of wishes and rules. Is there any more information or comments that need to be brought before the committee today? If not, we are hereby adjourned. Thank you.